guys, it's Debbie. Today I'm here to speak about a series of unfortunate events. It is a TV series available on Netflix and based on a series of novels of the same name written by Daniel Handler under the pen name of Lemony Snicket. There are 13 original novels and the TV series is based on the first 4. They all follow the life of the Baudelaire children, so Violet, Klaus and Sunny, which are in custody of a distant relative, Count Olaf, which desperately tries to steal their enormous fortune. Although I have seen the 2004 film starring Jim Carrey as Count Olaf, I've actually never read the original novels, so what I'll be speaking about is based just on the TV series. There will also be some spoilers throughout this video, so I would recommend watching the series before seeing it. All 8 episodes are now available on Netflix. Now the story begins with the death of the Baudelaire's parents in a mysterious fire. The children's case is followed by Mr. Poe, which quickly places them in Count Olaf's custody after he convinced him that closest relative means the one living closest to them. Count Olaf, portrayed by Neil Patrick Harris, is an actor which lives in an enormous, dilapidated and old-fashioned house. He has absolutely no interest in the children, always calling them orphans and never by their name, as his main interest is getting his hands on the enormous fortune their parents left them after their death. This means he will do absolutely anything in order to obtain that money, including marrying Violet even if she's still not of age, threatening to kill the children and murdering the children's other relatives. He also often speaks of their parents' death as if it hadn't been an accident. As Count Olaf is not able to look after the children, they are removed from his custody, so he then proceeds to follow the children as they live with other relatives, and with the help of his theatrical group he disguises himself as various characters and tries to get his hands back on their fortune. As you can tell from the title, the world in which a series of unfortunate events is set is extremely negative. For example, the story is told by Lemony Snicket, portrayed by Patrick Warburton, which breaks the fourth wall, directly speaking to us and advising us to stop watching the show because it's too sad and depressing. Also, many other characters seem to have a negative view of the world. For example, Aunt Josephine has an irrational fear of nearly everything that surrounds her. Also, the settings are often very dark, gloomy and creepy. For example, the story sets off on a gloomy, foggy, miserable looking beach. Then the children visit Count Olaf, which lives in the only creepy house in an absolutely beautiful neighbourhood. They then stay at Lake Lachrymose, which I imagine is a play on the word tears, and they end up at a lumber mill where all the workers live a dull and repetitive life. It is often raining, cloudy, the lighting is never bright, and everything seems to convey a feeling of doom. The only colourful scenes are in the moments in which the Baudelaires visit some helpful characters or their houses. For example, when they visit Justice Strauss's house, or the restaurant at Lake Lachrymose, or for example Uncle Montgomery's house, or when they see the Violet Lighthouse during the storm. Luckily, the 3 children are extremely optimistic and they have particular traits that allow them to overcome their difficulties. Violet is very ingenious and can create useful objects from scratch. Klaus has an extensive general knowledge due to all the books he has read. And Sunny is just a toddler but has already established a form of communication and can already carry out simple tasks. And also, if we still consider the colour factor, take a look at the Baudelaire's clothes. Their clothing is always extremely bright and colourful. For example, when they're in trouble at Lake Lachrymose, where every colour seems to be in the shades of grey, black or dark blue, they wear very bright, colourful raincoats which stand out against the dark background. And obviously this is again a symbol of being positive. And although they're very sad because of their parents' disappearance, they never seem to have any fear of death or of trouble in general. While many other characters panic in front of a difficulty, for example Mr. Poe just screams and faints, or Count Olaf runs away, Aunt Josephine cries and begs for her life, they remain alert and concentrate on finding the best solution to their problem. Another important feature in a series of unfortunate events is that nothing is ever casual. Every single thing the characters say or do has a meaning or consequence, and we often actually skip from one scene to another thanks to certain words or sentences. Even the films the characters see in the series have a meaning and are picked up even many episodes later. Another feature is that often the characters tease us with references to the fact that we are watching them. For example, in the last episode, both Count Olaf and Mr. Poe say next season or last season and then immediately correct themselves. And also when one of Count Olaf's friends prepares him a cake and describes it as lemony, Count Olaf scolds him as that word word is forbidden in his presence. So we're always included in the story as if we were actually in it, with Lemony Snicket breaking the fourth wall and speaking to us, and these continuous hints at us watching these characters. Also, the symbolism is calculated. For example, the eye tattooed on Count Olaf's ankle is repeated basically everywhere throughout the series. Even Lake Lachrymose is shaped as an eye. I absolutely loved A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I didn't only enjoy it because of its clever dialogue and the symbolism, but also because of its absurd and anachronistic plot. Because the world that the characters live in seems to be set in different times. For example, a lot of props and settings seem to belong to the first decades of the 20th century. For example, Dr. Orwell's Study. Then we have a 50s, 60s vibe going on during the time at Lake Lachrymose. Then the means of transport the characters use seem to belong to different times. Mr. Poe's office is definitely not up to date. The cinema they visit looks like it came out of another time, just as the planes we see flying. But then, for example, there are references to online shopping, Count Olaf uses a walkie-talkie, and Lemony Snicket hints at recent laws about same-sex marriage. And apart from the setting, also the story makes absolutely no sense. Just think of the adoption laws, the ridiculous disguises, the hypnosis, the importance of grammar. All of this is not done in an annoying way. It's what actually makes the story special. Count Olaf's career as an actor does not stop on stage, but he continues to act throughout his life, and we watch the series as if we were watching a theatrical comedy, with the characters chasing one another with these strange disguises that look like theatrical costumes, and look at the ridiculous settings such as Aunt Josephine's house. Also, this absurdity underlines the Baudelaire's struggles, as they appear to be the only rational characters on the show, fighting against the irrational adults which seem to not notice everything appearing in front of their eyes. Mr. Poe is absolutely useless. He cares just about his career, just as his wife does. Justice Strauss should be judicious and logical, but she can't even see what's happening in front of her. Aunt Josephine's only worry is grammar. Count Olaf is completely unreasonable, and although often he appears quite eloquent and bright, he often doesn't manage to understand even the simplest concepts. Also, there is never a clear answer to what is actually happening in the plot. We understand the main storyline, but we still haven't received a proper answer about all the hints to a secret organisation, or for example, as to what the connection to the Quagmire family is. I assume we will have a clearer picture in the next season, as the series will continue to follow the remaining novels. So in general, I think the beauty of A Series of Unfortunate Events resides in its absurdity. I found Neil Patrick Harris's Count Olaf absolutely fantastic, probably even better than Jim Carrey's performance in the 2004 film. He is so natural in this role, even with so many disguises. Jim Carrey mostly focused on the comedic effect that Count Olaf conveys. Instead, Neil Patrick Harris delivered a perfect villain. I completely forgot there was an actor under all that makeup, and I completely enjoyed him wreaking havoc around town as Mr. Haircut, Stefano, Dr. Orwell's assistant, Captain Sham. As a matter of fact, Handler, the real Lemony Snicket, wanted Neil Patrick Harris to perform Count Olaf after seeing one of his performances, stating that he just immediately saw someone who could pull off a million things at once. The Baudelaires were absolutely fantastic, especially Klaus, portrayed by Lewis Hines, who perfectly portrayed his bookworm character, but also his feeling of wanting to stand up and defend his family. One thing I didn't understand though is the concept of coughing. Mr. Poe has this extremely annoying cough, which often stops him from talking or listening. The only clue that we have is that also the director of the lumber mill has fits of cough, and they happen exactly when the Baudelaires have to say something really important. So Violent exclaims in despair that this happens every time. But Mr. Poe's cough doesn't only happen when they're trying to say something important, it happens all the time. And although I've done some research, I still haven't found the reason to this cough. So if any of you have the answer to this problem, please leave it in the comments here below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all the other reviews and reactions to many other TV series and films. See you soon in your video, bye!